Well, it looks like everybody is here, so we will call to order the April 14th meeting of the Rules Committee. We will start with introductions on the dais. Mr. Dennis first, please.
Good afternoon, Garrett Dennis, Administration.
Colleen Hampsey, Council Research.
Carla Lopera, Office of General Counsel.
Trista Caraher, Council Auditor's Office.
Rockman Johnson, pretending like I'm at the Masters, District 14.
Michael Bond, aspiring to go to the Masters someday, District 6.
Good afternoon, Terrence Freeman at Large, Group 1.
Nick Howland at Large, Group 3.
Good afternoon, Chris Miller at Large, Group 5.
Mike Gay, District 2.
Matt Carlucci at Large, Group 4. Thank you.
All right, we have no visiting council members, so this will be a relatively unusual Rules Committee meeting. Actually, on the agenda, we don't have that many items to take up, which is interesting. I know I'm not going to jinx it, but we do have discussion. We do have a discussion on boards and commissions. It'll be the final of 3 discussions. We had to skip the second due to an extremely long agenda for Rules Commission. But before we get into the boards and commissions discussion, we have comment cards, and we got 14 of them. So I think I generally know what some of the comments are going to be about. What we're going to do is there's nothing on the agenda pertaining to what the folks want to talk about in the comment cards. So normally we say you can only come do public comment if there's something on the agenda that's appropriate. But we're going to allow it today. We're going to keep everyone to 2 minutes if we can. And when I call your name, I'm going to call 3 names. So first will be there. The next 2 are on deck. And please state your name and your address, and then we'll start the clock. So the very first one will be Camille Green, followed by Audrey Punette, and then Tristan Rodriguez. So Camille's first, please. And ma'am, just say first name, last name, address. You can also say address is on file if you want to not say it publicly because we have it written.
I'm a student at Fletcher High School. I come from a low-income family. AP and CTE classes have greatly helped me in school. They make it accessible for someone like me to get a higher education and ease the financial burden of college. Without these classes, people like me would not be able to take classes that are rigorous enough for them, cut down on college costs, and train them for college, such as learning how to write research essays, doing college-level testing and assignments, and giving them the responsibility that college gives you. Along with the CTE classes, I am in the ViStar business class / internship. Without this internship, I would not have gained a lot of the valuable skills that I've learned. Leadership skills, I've been able to go into the workforce, learn how to work at a bank and everything. So it's a really big deal. And without this class, I would not be the person I am today. The funding cut will make it inaccessible for people like me to take high-level classes to succeed in life. They will not be afforded the chance to not have to pay as much for college, to not have to be riddled with debt, and have to use borrowed money just to get a higher education. The future of education would never be the same if these changes were made. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Please, next up is Ms. Punette, followed by Tristan Rodriguez. And then next up with that will be Caden Young. Yeah, and please, as a council body, we generally do not allow clapping or loud noises or any other disturbances in the council chamber, so please refrain in the future. Thank you for that. Ms. Punette.
Hi, y'all. My name is Audrey Punette. The address is on file. How are y'all doing today? Good. I'd like to start by, telling you about who I am. I'm a student at Fletcher High School. I'm a senior this year. And unlike a lot of the other people here, I don't usually enroll in AP and ACE courses. I've taken 2 at my time at Fletcher. And, sorry, my heart is jumping out of my chest.
No, you're doing great.
These programs are still very important to me. They've made a big difference in my life. I took AP Music Theory and ACE Biology last year. Having these classes to pursue higher education within my passions has meant a lot to me. It's helped me cement my future in biomedical sciences, and it helped me to become a better musician for AP Music Theory, which helped me become a better part of my ensemble. And being a part of an ensemble, it promotes caring about something bigger than yourself, and I think that's a really important quality to have. And I think without AP Music Theory, I would still have that quality, but maybe not as strongly. And that's why I think these classes are so important, not only for academics, but also for mental and social success and growth. And these classes create stepping stones to higher education for kids who are gifted or maybe are just curious to learn more about a subject they enjoy, and it'll help them to pursue it in the future. And that's why these have been so important to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well said. All right, next up we have Tristan Rodriguez, followed by Caden Young, followed by Rarin Daniels.
Good afternoon, esteemed members of the Jacksonville City Council. My name is Tristan Sebastian Rodriguez. Address is on file. I am a proud student of Duncan U. Fletcher High School and a proud second-generation immigrant. My father came to this country fleeing as a refugee, fleeing the chaos of the Dominican Civil War in 1971, as a 10-year-old boy who could barely read English, let alone speak it without an accent. A boy who had lost everything he'd ever known. For years, my family was forced to rely on the charity of our church, living in basements and eating out of food pantries, while they gave all they could to pursue that which every dreamer gives their lives to pursue, the American dream. It was the transformative power of education which allowed my father to make that dream a reality for his family and mine. Programs like ACE, AP, and IB, which allowed him to work through a collegiate system he would otherwise be able to afford. As a student, I beg of you, please don't close the path he took. Don't stop the classes of 2026 and beyond from reaching for a better future. Don't make all the students here today the last educated enough to speak to you as we do now. Don't prevent the next dreamer, the next impoverished student, the next child with something to prove to the world from achieving what my father did. Oppose Senate Bill 7030 and take a stand for the dream upon which this great nation was built. I will finish with a quote from one of our nation's foremost intellectuals, George Washington Carver. Education is the key which unlocks the golden door to freedom. Please, council members, do not throw that key away today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Next up, Mr. Young, followed by Rarin Daniels and then Reagan Slaveski.
Hello, council members. My name is Caden Young. Address is on file. I'm a junior at Duncan U. Fletcher High School, and I'm in ACE, AP, CTE, and dual enrollment courses. I'm not here as just a student before you, but as a young person fighting for a future that seems to me that it's slipping away. I'm here with my peers to ask you, our city council members, to take a stand with us and Councilman Matt Carlucci to protect the dreams of students across Jacksonville and oppose Senate Bill 7030, previously known as HB 5101 and Senate Bill 2510. This bill would cut funding earned by students for passing their exams for programs like AP, IB, ACE, dual enrollment, and CTE courses by up to 50%. But these aren't just advanced courses for people like us. These are the difference between surviving and thriving. For many students, they're the only pathway to a better life, like you heard in my peer's previous speech. They give us a chance, one we can't afford to lose. The estimated cost of this to Duval County would be about $8 million. But what does that number really mean? It means fewer teachers. It means packed classrooms. It means students being turned away from opportunities that lit a fire inside of them. It means that some kids will never be able to get the chance to prove of what they're actually capable of. These programs aren't just nice to have, they're lifelines. They've taught me how to think. They've taught me how to lead, how to believe my future could be something bigger than I ever could dream. Council members, you have the power to act. You are the voice of the city, and we need you to speak for us. Pass a resolution opposing Senate Bill 7030. Show the state that Jacksonville does not give up on its students, not now and not ever. Thank you for your time and giving our futures a chance.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Rarin Daniels, followed by Reagan Slaveski, and then Finn McMahon.
Sarah Daniels, and my address is on file.
So sorry about that. I thought the S was an R.
Serves me right. This is my, I judge their handwriting. Now you get to judge mine. It's perfect. I do want to provide a little clarity for the members today. This issue is apparently much larger than even just us going to our school board. It's bigger than us going to some of our representatives, as it seems like this is kind of moving forward without the say of the constituents, and so we're hoping that you guys can kind of help to facilitate some safety nets for our education. So my name is Sarah Daniels, and I'm here today as a concerned constituent, parent of a DCPS student, former DCPS student, and a current educator in Duval County. Horace Mann, a 19th century advocate for public education, famously referred to education as the greatest equalizer of the conditions of men, the balance wheel of a social machinery. This quote highlights the belief that accessible education can level the playing field for individuals regardless of their socioeconomic background, enabling them to fully participate in society. In order for this idea to become a reality, we must first ensure that public education across the board is equitable. What we have seen occurring in these past few years, most certainly in this state, is the strategic slaughter of public education, watching funding being funneled into private and charter institutions, causing massive cuts across school districts in the state. Now HB 5101 and SB 2510, recently renamed SB 7030, would take away resources and funding from our schools and opportunities for our students. This is undoubtedly an attack on this city's most vulnerable and low-income families. Having local neighborhood public schools being able to provide higher-level courses helps give opportunities to the students to have college courses and exams that are paid for. Without these opportunities, our public school system will not be able to be as competitive, or public school students will not be able to be as competitive in their high school transcripts as their private and out-of-state peers. They will not be as prepared for the rigorous work they will have in college and trade programs.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. All right, next up, we have Reagan Slavesky, followed by Finn McMahon, followed by Tyler McDonald.
Hello all, my name is Reagan Slavesky and my address is on file. I am currently a junior at Fletcher High School. I'm a part of the Cambridge ACE program and on track to obtaining my diploma. After graduating my senior year, I should get 100% coverage from Bright Futures, which will allow me to go to any college in Florida without having to pay for the tuition. I could sit up here and talk about my personal experiences in accelerated programs and how this will affect me. But I would like to talk about how this will affect everyone in DCPS. At Fletcher alone, the AP participation rate is 62%. This school year, we have 2,192 students. This means that about 1,359 students are actively in an AP course. This doesn't include ACE, honors, or dual enrollment. Cutting funding isn't a small change. This will affect over 1,000 students at Fletcher alone, not including the numerous amount of high schools throughout the entire county. I understand that part of Bill 5101 will allow scholarships to private schools or increase participation in charter schools. However, some students choose Fletcher because of public transportation. Most charter schools, it is not required to have any kind of public transportation. This means students who need to take a bus cannot get there. This forces families and students to choose to stay at a school with limited accelerated programs or to transfer to a new school that may be more difficult to pay or get to. In 20 years, you may not be sitting in these chairs anymore. You may be retired or in a different profession. But the people who will be in these chairs in 20 years are the students who are attempting to get their funds cut. Children are the future. We will soon be voting and working and making important decisions. Taking away our resources to succeed isn't just hurting our future, but it's harming every future generation. I ask you, no, I urge you to vote against cutting school funding in the best interest of your future and ours.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Finn McMahon, followed by Tyler McDonald, followed by Jalen Moore.
Hello, my name is Finn McMahon. My address is on file. I am a junior at Fletcher High School. The ACE and AP programs have had the impact of a lifetime on me and my fellow students. Through these programs, we have learned the skills of honesty, excellence, but most importantly, discipline. I cannot imagine my life without these programs. I am confident no ordinary private school could replicate the effects of these outstanding international programs. This is why I urge you to push to not cut funding to these programs. It is unimaginably important in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tyler McDonald, followed by Jalen Moore, and then Elijah Stewart.
Thank you. My name is Tyler McDonald. My address is on file, but I'm a proud resident of Lakewood. Honorable Councilman, students in this city enjoy the benefits of some of the finest education, public education opportunities to be found in this country. Because of what this state and city has done, a student like myself is going to graduate with 45 college credits already done. That means I can expect to save $10,000 in in-state tuition. I'll let you wonder what that number would be like at out-of-state tuition. This has taught me how to learn, and slashing our $16 million grant to this district specifically will jeopardize the same opportunities that allow students under your care to acclimate to college-level courses, to earn credit, and to save themselves millions collectively in tuition. These statewide cuts affect everybody in this room. If I can get a little specific, Councilman Gay, I know you're a proud graduate of Andrew Jackson High School, and Councilman Johnson, I know you went to Ribault High yourself. These schools respectively have reached AP participation rates of 33% and 17%. So I want to ask you a question. Can you honestly say that these schools would be able to maintain these rates of engagement with vulnerable youth if these funds were cost? No. The truth is, this ploy to get our public schools and to haphazardly turn them into charter school is a gross injustice to our city, and it's going to create a blight that will take years and decades to get rid of the stench. So, Councilman, all of you are proud graduates of DCPS schools, and I ask that you resolutely and in one voice declare your loyalty to our city, to its people, to its schools, and to your constituents, and let the state know that this sort of cut cannot be tolerated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And there's no way you would have known this, but just like we don't do disturbances, when you address the council or the committee, please address them as a whole. Even if you're complimenting Councilman Johnson or Councilman Gay, it's a rule we have. But well said. Thank you. Next up, we have Jalen Moore, followed by Elijah Stewart, followed by Chloe Emerson.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jalen Edward Moore, and I am a student at Darnall Cookman School of the Medical Arts, and my address is on file. Now, today, we've heard a lot about the funding issues, the specific dollar amounts that are being allocated per student to the students in this county. I want to speak to a personal anecdotal experience in the educational system. I have a deep passion for learning. I love it. It's something I've been doing since the moment I was born. It's a fundamental trait of human beings in our world, right? So we all have this undying passion to learn. The education system shouldn't be asking what the limits are for our educational opportunities. The educational system should be asking, how high do we want to go? How much do we want to learn? How far do we want to go on our educational path? Cutting AP or an IB and ACE funding not only limits our educational prowess and learning just specific knowledge and facts about our education, it also limits the amount of practice we can have thinking in the real world. AP tests us unlike any other state test you could imagine. The state test asks, what is this color? What is this? What is red? What is blue? AP tests allow us to apply our knowledge in real-world situations. Doing AP calculus, doing AP physics, AP statistics, these are accesses to courses that would otherwise be unheard of in certain communities. Coming from people who don't have education, people who are first generation, they don't have parents to groove them into these situations on their own. AP and IB and ACE, these are all programs that allow us to push our educational prowess further, and it keeps us from being limited by our state. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Elijah Stewart, followed by Chloe Emerson, followed by Michael Phillips, please.
Good afternoon. Elijah Stewart, address is on file. So I'm a senior at Darnall Cookman. I have about 60 credit hours graduating. And I want to talk to you about a program that I started and a student at our school. So I'd like to give some background. Darnall Cookman is a majority low-income school, so all these AP programs are really how a lot of these kids get into colleges. It's not just to earn the credits and save money, which is obvious, but also it's how they get into schools like UF, UMiami, USF, UWF, and so on. And I want to talk about a kid named Okiki. So Okiki is a 5,000 role model student. He's all A's, brilliant, loves fire alarms. He's very obsessed with it. And I recently started a firefighter program through the CTE system. And essentially, it provides low-income students with the ability to become firefighters and provide for their community and save lives. Any cuts would fundamentally change how this program works and essentially make it dysfunctional. So this program, not only the CTE, AP, IB, they don't just save money, they don't just provide students with more knowledge to apply to their lives, get them into college, but they also save lives directly. This is a cut would mean potentially a loss of life. And I think in particular that this cut is an affront to meritocracy in itself. I mean, we like to say in the States, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And this allows individuals to do that. I see no other way to interpret this. This education is the pathway to a better system of living. And I would love if you stood against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Next up, we have Chloe Emerson, followed by Michael Phillips, followed by Alejandra Banuet.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chloe Emerson, and my address is on file. I'm a current junior at Fletcher High School. I am very involved with my school, but one of the main programs that I'm a part of is the Cambridge ACE program. What this program does is it allows students to take advanced classes and then receive the Bright Future Scholarship. I will be a first-generation college student. Both my parents work in the service industry, and I've had a job since the month that I turned 14 to have money to spend things on the things that I desire. To be quite honest, my family does not have a lot of money. If I want to pursue a higher education, it would likely put my family into substantial debt. That was before I became a member of the ACE program. Now I have the guarantee that I can attend college with the money that I receive from the Bright Future Scholarship. This House bill and this Senate bill essentially cut funding for these advanced studies like ACE, AP, dual enrollment, IB, early college, and more. This would be absolutely detrimental for so many reasons. For one, it would limit the futures of many low-income students like myself, as they may be relying on these programs to support them through college. Additionally, it would ruin so many students' competition to get into prestigious universities. Many colleges look at something called course rigor, or the difficulty level of the classes that you take. Without these advanced programs, it would be difficult for students in Florida to compete with others for acceptances into top universities. Advanced courses also facilitate engagement, dedication, and involvement in our school systems. Students are so much more encouraged to become involved in their school and community with the presence of these courses. With the absence, students will grow bored, and immense boredom can cause immense disruption and poor choices. This House bill also puts hundreds of teachers' jobs in jeopardy. Many of my greatest accomplishments at Fletcher have involved the help of my teachers. For example, I became the founder and president of the school psychology club with assistance and guidance from my AP and ACE psychology teacher, Ms. Kemmer. I was encouraged to try out for the mock trial team, in which we recently competed at the state competition by my ACE thinking skills and AP government teacher, Ms. Wortherly. These, amongst so many other teachers, have shed such a positive light on students' lives, and they encourage us to work as hard as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Next up, we have Mr. Phillips, followed by Alejandra Banuet, and then Daniel Hernandez.
Hello, my name is Michael Phillips, and my address is on file. So if funding is cut, and we have to pay, there's a chance that we might have to pay for our own tests. Now, for AP tests, they are $94 a piece, and for IB tests, they're $119 a piece. That would mean for me this year alone, I would have to pay $426 out of my own pocket to pay for these tests. Now, for some families, that's a huge issue, as some are already struggling to pay bills and get through as it is. So with on top of doing everything that some students do, like extracurriculars, community service, all trying to get towards that Bright Future Scholarship, they're not going to have time to earn the money to pay for these tests. Now, something else that I found out recently was that one of the people at my school, our debate team's captain, she would have to pay over $1,000 for all of her tests this year. And to me, that's ridiculous. Now, another thing that's taken into consideration is the large class sizes. As if funding is cut, we're going to lose teachers, and that just increases our class sizes more and more. That's going to lead to problems of our schools trying to make it where they're going to cut down on classes. That way they don't have to hire as many teachers, and there's more funding to go around. This would also lead to my next main point, is that this isn't just affecting schools like magnet programs like Stanton, Wolfson, or Paxton, who are magnets who just use AP IB class with very few honors. As here we've seen from the Fletcher students at other schools as well, such as Sandalwood or Inglewood, there are kids everywhere that this will affect. And it's not just a magnet problem, it's a problem for schools all across the county, whether it's a private, magnet, or public school. So I strongly encourage that you guys go against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Next up, Alejandra Banuet, Daniel Hernandez, followed by Jarrett Kelly.
Hello, my name is Alejandra Bonjuet, and I go to Samuel Wilson High School. I think we all have heard the generalized stereotype that Gen Z and Gen Alpha tend to be less disciplined and have less of a work ethic. Well, if we are to cut this budget, this discipline and work ethic will only worsen. Now, me personally, I grew up in advanced classes and honors, and I'm currently in an IB program. And I can definitely say that compared to my friends who have little to no honors classes, the work ethic and discipline is definitely a lot bigger in the advanced classes. And currently, Gen Z in the workforce is currently going through a lot of trouble because of the mass firing of them, because of how little discipline and how much the managers are complaining of how little critical thinking skills and how dependent they are on other people. To cut this budget is to essentially make the problem that much worse and make the working class the current workforce that much harder, less disciplined and less able. This will make success for many people and society in general that much harder. I do understand that budget issues are really hard to think about, and cuts do have to be made. However, I urge you to keep these advanced classes not just for the students but for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Banuet. Next up, Daniel Hernandez, followed by Jarrett Kelly, followed by Gabriel Meechan.
Good evening, Council. I'm Daniel Horace Hernandez, and I currently attend Samuel W. Wolfson. It's my second year there. What these new pieces of legislation do is, like you've heard from many others, it cuts funding for our advanced programs, ACE, IB, and our AP. And many people, like myself, as well as many other individuals, depend on these programs for scholarships to get into colleges and good colleges. We depend on what these programs do. They allow us to be more competitive. They allow us to challenge ourselves, to take these hard classes, these hard, rigorous classes in which these colleges appreciate to see that we've taken these classes. I come from a first-generation family, and without these programs, I don't think I would be able to attend college because I won't be able to have the rigorous classes needed to get in, as well as have the scholarships needed to attend and pay for these colleges. And it's not an issue for me, but as well as many others who might not have enough money to pay for these colleges, as they won't be getting scholarships from taking these rigorous classes. As you heard from Michael Phillips, we have to pay a substantial amount of money if we weren't getting funding to take AP tests and IB tests and to get our IB diploma. And I just want the council here to understand that we need these classes in order to have a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Next up, Jarrett Kelly, Gabriel Meechan, and then Dylan Roth, please.
Thank you. My address is on file. Good afternoon. I'm writing to you today on behalf of my classmates from Wolfson High School who are once again fighting for our school's future. While our previous battle was a victory, this one appears to be more challenging. We urge you to take a strong stance in this matter and stand with students and families. Tallahassee has always had a strong relationship with Jacksonville, and I believe that we receive more support from them than any other major city in the state. If you pass this resolution, the state will reconsider their stance on this bill and their decision to reduce funding for advanced education. This could lead to increased support for these programs from other cities across the state. AP, IB, ACE, and dual enrollment classes have been instrumental in preparing our students for college-level education and earning college credits in high school, saving them money on tuition. The alternative to a strong public education is a private education that is out of reach for many of our families, or a lower quality charter school education. And as a junior in high school at Wolfson High School, I have already earned 15 college credits and can have as many as 30 by the end of this year, saving me 1 year of college and on average $11,500 in tuition. The AP program has pushed me and my classmates to achieve greatness and has allowed us to adapt to a college-level education at a young age. These programs have proven to be successful for a rigorous higher education and have been proven to be invaluable to families in all of your districts. I aspire to attend a top-ranked university and law school to become an attorney and a politician so that I can one day play a significant role in protecting the livelihoods of students and families in our city. We implore you to pass this resolution, if not to oppose cutting education. Pass it because you want a brighter future for the students in our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Right at the buzzer. Well done, Mr. Kelly. Next up, Gabriel Meekin, Dylan Roth, James Brandler, and we've now cut off any more comment cards because it's 2:30. So, Jared Kelly, sorry, he did that one. Gabriel Meekin, Dylan Roth, James Brandler.
All right. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Gabriel Merchant, and I'm a student in the IB program at Wolfson High School. I'm here today to talk about why cutting this 50% cut of AP and IB funding would be a huge mistake, not just for me, but for the thousands of students across this district. Programs like IB and AP give students like us a chance to challenge ourselves, to think critically and prepare for college and beyond. These courses aren't just harder classes, they help us as students grow. They teach time management, global awareness, and real-world problem solving, and for many of us, they provide the opportunity to earn college credits, which can save thousands of dollars for every student in tuition. Cutting funding would limit access to these programs, especially in schools that already struggle with resources, as many of them do in Duval County. This means that fewer students, especially those from underrepresented or low-income backgrounds, will have a chance to take advanced classes. This is not just unfair, but it is setting us back as a state. Florida should be investing in education, not pulling it away from the students who are trying to push themselves to be better. Cutting 50% of this funding of AP and IB would hurt our future. Let's keep giving students the opportunities they've worked hard for and pass the resolution. Thank you. Go Pack.
Thank you. Next up, Dylan Roth, followed by James Brandler, followed by William Bellou.
Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Roll, and my address is on file. I'm a student at Wolfson High School. I also am the founder of Vala Web Design, a business that I built while still in high school thanks to opportunities through the Career and Technical Education Program, CTE. CTE didn't just teach me how to build websites. It taught me how to build something for myself, how to take an idea, make it real, and turn it into a career, creating a web design and marketing business. Without CTE, I wouldn't have the confidence, the knowledge, or even the belief that I could start a business at 16. But what concerns me today is the bill proposing a 50% cut to CTE funding. That's not just cutting classes, supplies, it's cutting off futures. It's cutting off motivation, direction, and potential. This isn't something abstract to me. I've called and messaged state representatives because I know how real this is. Wolfson is a special place, not just a school, but a home to students with drive, talent, and ambition. Our CTE programs are more than just electives. They're lifelines for kids who want to work hard, find their path, and do something meaningful with their lives. Whether it's digital design, business, culinary, or healthcare, we are building real skills for real jobs. And these programs don't just help us find careers, they help us get into colleges. CTE courses help to stand out in applications for schools like UF, FSU, and other Florida universities. And also, the AP program, FSU and UF, really like IB and AP students. So if we cut this, we'll have a significant amount of our students not being able to get into our own public colleges in our own state. Cutting this funding doesn't just affect the students now, though. It sends a message for years to come. It tells the future students their dreams aren't worth investing in. It tells our teachers, the ones who go above and beyond to help us grow, that their work isn't valued. We are not asking for handouts. We're asking for a chance to keep building. Please vote for the resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Roll. Next up, we have James Brandler, followed by William Ballou, followed by Kaylin Gilbert.
Good afternoon. My name is James Brandler, and my address is on file. I'm a sophomore student at Wolfson High School, and I'm here today because I care deeply about my education and the education of thousands of students across Florida. Cutting these millions of dollars is not the solution. Just to share my experience with these advanced classes, one of my classes, funded by CTE funding, helped my friend and me start a successful business called Vala Web Design. With the funding cuts and loss, we wouldn't have been able to achieve this. These programs aren't just extra classes where we can earn a few college credits. They're about preparing for life. They help students like me save money, build confidence, and enter college on the workforce with a real advantage. When lawmakers propose bills that would cut funding for these programs in half, it's not just a budget decision, it's a decision that affects our future. Cutting these programs doesn't save money, it just costs Florida its future. I'm not asking for anything extra or special treatment. I'm just asking for the same opportunities that students before me had. These programs level the playing field. They make a real difference, especially for students who might not otherwise be able to afford college or access career training. We're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for a fair shot. Florida says it wants to be open for business, but when we underfund education, we send the wrong message to companies and investors. No business wants to move to a state where students aren't being prepared for future jobs. A strong economy starts with strong schools. If we want to build a better Florida, we have to start by investing in our students. I hope lawmakers will listen, not just to me, but to every student, parent, and teacher speaking out. Don't turn your back on Florida's future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ballou, followed by Kaylin Gilbert, followed by Nathan Andrews. So first up is William Ballou. After that, we'll take a couple, we have a couple committee members on the queue, and then we have one speaker card not related to IB, AP, and ACES funding. This Mr. Nooney in the back. We'll take you after all that's said and done. Thank you. Sir, you're up, Mr. Ballou.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is William Ballou, and my address is on file. I am a junior at Fletcher High School, and I would also like to talk about the cutting of these programs. I am currently enrolled in a CTE program that is 2 years long named Civics Career Academy. This, along with all of the other programs that this bill will cut funding for, will make it to where future generations will not be able to learn the valuable life skills that these courses teach. The program I am currently in has taught us many things to do with our civic responsibilities as U.S. citizens. And this is a great example of that. Everyone showing up and doing the thing that they think will make the most change. So I am asking you, Council, to please do your part and help support us by negating this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Kaylin Gilbert, followed by Nathan Andrews. Kaylin Gilbert? Am I pronouncing that incorrectly?
No, sir.
Okay. Next up then is Nathan Andrews, please. Are you?
I'm Kaylin Gilbert.
You're Kaylin. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Hello, council members. My name is Kaylin Gilbert, and I am a junior at Fletcher High School. I have been an ACE student for 3 years and an AP student for 2, but I've had a connection to these programs for longer than I remember because my mother has been a DCPS teacher for 22 years, teaching at 3 different schools in the IB, ACE, and AP programs.
She would be here speaking to you herself if she were not still at school, putting in extra unpaid hours to prepare her students for the upcoming exams. She puts in so much work to make her students' experience in the acceleration programs the best it can possibly be. I have been stopped in the hallways by strangers who tell me how my mother has touched their lives, and she is not an anomaly. The acceleration teachers are the most dedicated group of individuals I have ever met. Being their student is the most valuable experience I have gained from these programs and in high school in general. It is my understanding that a large portion of the budget in question goes towards funding teacher positions within these programs. I believe that it would be a tragedy if my mom or one of her colleagues were to lose their jobs because of this bill. It would be equally terrible to deprive the next generation of high schoolers the opportunity to learn all that they can from these teachers. I know that I am better for the experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Nathan Andrews on this topic. Is Nathan here? Okay, thanks. Oh, I see you're passing off the phone. Got it, understood. Took me this long, 21 speakers.
Hello, my name is Nathan Andrews. I'm a student at Duncan U. Fletcher High School and a longtime member of the ACE program, one of the advanced programs that would be affected by this legislation. My education has consistently been bolstered by advanced programs throughout my years. I'm currently the top of my class, and I feel very prepared for my college, more so than I would be without advanced programs. It saddens me to think that my little sister, who is already full of potential in her school's gifted program, will not have the same opportunities in public education that I do. I want her to be able to have the same level of education that I have had, even if she does not attend a private or charter school. I believe that everyone should have access to these advanced programs regardless of socioeconomic status. On top of this, I am deeply concerned of the potential consequences to the jobs of countless teachers. I've seen some of the most talented and dedicated staff working these advanced programs, including my very own mother, who has had the security of a job for decades. A resolution is needed for our education, for our teachers, and for our families. Let's provide an example for other counties. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes the speakers on the topic about advanced courses in our high school systems. I just want to say to everyone here, 21 speakers, each of you is so well-spoken and very influential. And I also want to commend whoever organized all this, getting 21 speakers out. There you go. Just in the last several 24 hours, 48 hours to come to a committee meeting to express your opinions on a very timely bill. I think that was well done and important. So with that, we do have two speakers in the queue, Mr. Carlucci, followed by Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I go over whatever the time limit is, if you'll let my seniority carry me over for a few seconds or so.
Go for it.
First of all, I want to say it's probably the very best discourse we've had from the public comment section of this building in a long, long time, and I'm so proud of each of these students and their parents and the faculty here. The civic involvement that we've seen today, I think, is just beyond outstanding, and I want to say that Caden Young, who, stand up, yeah, hey, Caden. I'd have them all stand up, but Caden interned with me last year, and you can have a seat now, son. And Caden remembered that the council had ordinances and resolutions, and he called my council aide and said, we'd like to come and make a case for how we want to keep the money for advanced placement and IB programs in place because there's an $8 million perhaps cut in Tallahassee. There's three options of what they want to do in Tallahassee, maybe more. It's a moving target right now. But I think the $8 million should just stay right where it's at and don't play with it. But they've already told you why. I don't need to express why. This is also a great opportunity for us as a council to partner with the Duval County Public School System. But Caden remembered that we did resolutions, and so Corey and Armstrong, my council aide, has been putting one together, thinking that they would make the case properly, and they certainly have. Because this is going on in Tallahassee, they got their session coming to a close at some point. We got a fifth week involved here. I will, however legally I can do it, ask the council president if we can have an in and out emergency on this at this coming council meeting, because we will file it by Wednesday. And I wanted to, and so we expressed to Caden it would be best to come to Rules Committee, because emergencies have to come to Rules Committee, and this just seemed like the right fit. So our resolution will be, I guess, opposing these cuts, but it will be more so in supporting what the $8 billion has done for these students. And that's what is important. Seeing these students here gives this old fella here a lot of faith in the future. And that's the maxim I have, and that's to have faith in the future. And y'all have demonstrated that today. Civic involvement. What great leadership each and every one of you have, and I have to say how proud I am again of Caden. So I would like to ask if my colleagues up here will have the resolution probably prepared by the end of the day or tomorrow. But we would love, and I would love to have my Rules Committee colleagues and any other council members that are hearing this to add their names as a co-introducer. I'm going to introduce it, but I'd like to have co-introducers because that speaks volumes. Now, this resolution goes to Tallahassee, young people, but we're just trying to help. These resolutions are not binding, but they do exert an expression. They do express how we feel as a body about important issues like what you're here about. And so we're going to have that available. And Mr. Chair, I just would love to hear, while we're in the sunshine, if anybody would like to say they'd like to be a co-introducer or sponsor. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. If you still want to look at things, that's fine. But I would certainly, anybody that wants to step up, I would be most appreciative, and I know these young people would too. Thank you for allowing me to have a little bit more time, perhaps, than usual, and I just hope that we can find in our hearts the place to co-introduce. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. Over to Dr. Johnson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I will keep my comments brief. Let me say, first of all, thank you. As the chair of this committee, you didn't have to do this, and I'm appreciative. Usually the rubric is for these committees that we have conversation on a bill that's pending. And so for you to have the courage to allow this conversation to take place is bold, and thank you for that boldness. That's number one. Number two, through the chair, to the students, I am you. I heard one of the gentlemen talk about Ribault Senior High School. Yeah, I graduated from there and took all AP classes. I ain't gonna tell you how long ago that was now, but it was a long time ago, over 30 years. But I did my AP courses in the morning because we didn't have the funds at that time. You have something a little different. We didn't have the funds for all AP courses. So I had to take my AP courses in the morning at Ribault and then go around the corner in the afternoon and take my other AP courses at Raines. But I walked up out of high school with enough college credits to have half my college career done. I'm thankful for that opportunity. Today, I was almost in tears because you have changed the game. You have enlightened and inspired and done such an amazing work, and all I can do is say thank you. I was just texting, and I usually don't share when I'm texting with people because that's personal. That's my business, right? But I was texting with Senator Davis, Tracy Davis. She left the Senate floor so she could watch you. I just want you to know you're being watched from the floor of the Senate right now because she appreciates what you all have done by coming here today. The only two no votes on that bill was Senator Davis and Senator Guillermo Smith, both of whom are great friends of mine. And I've spoken with them, and they hear you, they see you, what you have to say matters. Regardless of the outcome, it's your voice that's important. So I hope, if nothing else, that you hear that don't look at just what we are. I am you. I was there 30 years ago. There it is. I said the number. But I will tell you, this is what you can become and greater. And I look forward to it. Last but not least, I must say, I had already been working on a resolution, Councilman Carlucci. I did not know because of Sunshine Law. We couldn't speak. Dylan, will you stand up? Dylan is my TV son. As most of you know, I'm a SAG-AFTRA equity actor. Dylan is also a SAG actor. I know his mama and his daddy real well. And so Dylan was on the phone jumping at me like, we got to get this done through his mother. So thank you, Dylan, for your work. He was my son in several commercials we did on TV, and we always end up working together. And so I'm so glad to see you have I've known him since he was born, and just to see the man you've become, I'm so excited. Thank you to the educators and all that you are doing. This is what good government looks like. I'm so proud of you all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. See no other speakers in the queue to address Mr. Carlucci's question before. This has been a topic in my household as well. It was also covered on This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice on Sunday. And so it's a hot topic not only in Duval County, but in school districts all over the state of Florida. I look forward to seeing your resolution before I make a decision whether I'll be co-introduced or not. But, yep. And then, Mr. Peluso, you wanted to mention something? All right, we still have a long agenda in front of us.
I know we do, and I appreciate it. You have been so gracious, and as Councilman Johnson said, I totally agree. And perhaps Councilman Johnson's council aide can work with my council aide, Corey, and we've been working on this with Caden for a while now, but we wanted them to come up here and assert themselves, which they beautifully have. And but Councilman Johnson, anything he would like to offer in, we would love to include that, and I think it'd be a great thing. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Peluso, visiting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate you recognizing me. I actually didn't know this was really happening. I had it on the TV, and I just saw one young person after the next come and speak on this issue, and we as a society, right? We always say like, oh, the next generation is so this or they're so that, and they have no idea how tough it is, and how tough we had it. I mean, we get mad because they don't show up to vote because they're not civically engaged. These young people came out today to tell us how they feel about something that's directly affecting them and their schools and their friends and their future, and I'm so grateful to that. I'm very supportive of this resolution. I would like to be a co-introducer, Councilmember Carlucci, when it is written up. And thank you all for doing this.
All right, thank you. And to all the speakers, we kept you till 2:55, so I don't think you have to go back to Wolfson, Darnell Cookman, or Fletcher today. So the bell is probably ringing now. Thank you all for your advocacy. Appreciate you taking a leadership position on this issue, and let's hope it works itself out the way it should and right for the students and the teachers. Thank you very much. We're not done with public comment. We have one more. It's Mr. Nooney. Name and address, please, sir.
Hello. I am John Philanthropic Resiliency Nooney, 883-56 Bascom Road. B as in Bezos, A as in astronaut, S as in space, C as in council, O as in Oscar, M as in movie. We're making a movie. And, today, Blue Origin, you had, call them rocket babes, 6. Well, one of the participants was Carrie Ann Flynn, a film producer, and she needs to get with Todd Red Carpet, J-Sub 5 Rubin. I mean, we're making a movie. You got McMillions, this is going to be McBillions. And you know what? The flight was NS-31 mission. Well, NS, you know what that's an acronym for? That's Nooney's spot. And Carrie Ann Flynn, ping Nooney when you're orbiting, the world. And the reason I'm mentioning it, I'm only down to 50-some seconds, but I will be addressing agenda items 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 18, 19. Number 5, 2025-0188, JEA, River Accord. You got 2025-0220, DIA. Downtown includes Arias. You've got number 10, 2025-0226, direct contract. Remember, 2024-0107, that was JU, College of Law. 18, 2025-0257, that's the IG, the Inspector General. Put me on the stand today. And then, of course, we have 2025, another resolution, 0259, that's Doge. So that's Trump's Doge Club Public Park on Pottsburg Creek. Category 1 wetlands next to a FEMA house in District 4, CPAC 3, School Board District 3. And we're down to 4 seconds. Visit Jacksonville. It's tourism. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Nooney. Appreciate it. And because of the time, we're right at 3 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and move the boards and commissions discussion to the back of the agenda because we have some appointees we'd like to vote on, and then we have a relatively short rest of the agenda. So the very first item we'll take up will be on page 3, item number 6, 2025-0203. We have a motion and a second. This is the appointment of Ms. Tricia Kaputska to the Arlington CRA Advisory Board. Ms. Kaputska, if you're here, please come on up. Name, address, a little bit of background, and your interest in the role, and tell me if I'm pronouncing it correctly. You and I had this discussion. I'm not sure I'll ever get it.
Kapustka.
Yes, thank you.
I say it wrong, too. So Trish Kaputska, 5230 Riverton Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32277. I am here as an appointee of the Mayor's Office for the Arlington CRA Advisory Council. I'll have to learn the full name of how to say it all. But I have lived in Arlington for 34 years, so and very involved in the Arlington community. And I've had the opportunity to work with several of the council folks on different projects throughout the city, and then, of course, several of you I know through the Arlington area.
Ms. Kaputska, tell me, you and I had a long talk, and we're amazingly grateful that you're willing to lend your expertise to the Arlington CRA. Tell me some of the other Arlington boards over your career that you've been members of or participated in, because I think you bring a wealth of experience.
Great, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I have been involved in the Arlington community certainly for many years, but over the last few years, much more so. Really, it started with, I think, Celebrate Arlington, which is an annual festival, and I chaired that and got to know really a lot of the organizations and movers and shakers within the Arlington area. I'm very involved in Old Arlington Inc., and which is, Arlington's version of SPAR or RAP. We're very involved in historic preservation and the revitalization of Arlington. I'm also the current chair of the Arlington Jacks Chamber Arlington Council. So I'm in my second year as chair there. So it's really my honor and pleasure to serve Arlington. It's a community I love and have lived in for a very long time.
And I'm fully convinced you know Arlington, so thank you for thank you for doing this. Seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by unanimous vote, 2025-0203 passes. Ms. Kaputska, while you were required by our rules to attend today, you don't have to attend our meeting on April 22nd, that's next Tuesday, but we'd love to have you. And if you do attend, you will be recognized because all the new appointees will become formalized in that meeting, and we'll make their announcements and thank them for their service, and you could stand to be recognized, but it's not mandatory.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, we have page 6, item number 11. That is 2025-0228, and we have a motion to withdraw and a second. Seeing no speakers in queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 0228 is withdrawn, and I think it was withdrawn because the administration realized it wasn't necessary to have a vote on it. They can just do this appointment internally. Yeah, very good. We go next to item number 12 on the same page, 2025-0229. We have a motion and a second on the reappointment of Steve Glenn as a member of Jacksonville Police and Fire Pension Fund, and he is not required to attend. Mr. Glenn, are you here? Nope. Okay. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0229 passes. We move next to item number 13, 2025-0233. We have a motion and a second on the withdrawal. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your vote, 0233 is withdrawn. We move next to item number 14, next page, and that's 2024-0234, the appointment of Miss Kimberly Paget Morrison to the Cultural Services Grant Committee. We have a motion and a second. Miss Morrison, if you wouldn't mind, tell us your name, address, and a little bit about yourself. You have to reappear just because you only made 3 out of the 5 meetings, but you know what? That doesn't seem too crazy to me because you've only had 5 meetings.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. My name is Kimberly Paget Morrison. My address is 1552 Pasofino Drive, lifelong resident of Jacksonville, Florida. I am committed to the city of Jacksonville. It is really cool to be able to serve in such a way on the Cultural Council committee. I've enjoyed it. And as you stated, Councilman, yes, I fulfill someone else's term, hence why I had to fit it into my own schedule, but this allows me to serve my own singular term, so I'm excited about that. And 2, DCPS, this is what DCPS looks like. So I'm very excited about the opportunity and being asked to do so and serve in such a way. So I appreciate your votes.
Well, thank you for your willingness to be reappointed, and I look forward to having you serve in the Cultural Service Grant Program Committee. Sorry you had to come back again today.
No worries. Thank you.
Any speakers? Seeing none, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0234 passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Morrison. And we go now to the top of the agenda. We'll start with item number 1, 2024-0627, deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 2, 2024-0966, deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 3, 2025-011, deferred, I think at the request of the mayor. Item number 4, 2025-0138, deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 5, 2025-0118, deferred pursuant to Section 21.13 of the City Charter. And that brings us to item number 6 we've taken action on, and now item number 7, 2025-0220. We have a motion and a second on the bill. We have one speaker, and that is Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, I just want to ask about this. On the next page, when it goes into the notes, it says it strikes the requirement that members must attend a meeting in person in order to vote. Just wanted to see if there's a little bit more to this that we may understand. Given to me, this is an interesting request. Thank you.
Dylan Rangel with the Office of General Counsel, through the chair to the council member, and Ms. Boyer is here as well. The issue is that as long as you've got a quorum present and a board authorizes someone else to participate through other electronic means or telecommunication means, typically that means that person can then vote and participate by Zoom or whatever that thing is. The specific words that it says here says that person couldn't do that per the ordinance code. And so they were just trying to clarify that if there was a physical quorum present and someone was participating electronically or telephonically, that they then could be allowed to vote.
Through the chair, how many other boards are there that this is the case, that they can vote remotely? Because obviously we can't do that. And many others I've been part of, we can't do that as well. So I'm trying to wrap my head around how much of an exception this is, and wondering, because I know the intent from what I've seen and heard and experienced, if someone can't on a regular basis make the meetings, is that the right fit for the board to be able to participate in those meetings? So just trying to understand the bigger picture, please.
I do not know across the spectrum how many other boards do have this sort of have an ability for them to participate and vote remotely. I just was speaking in terms of generally under Florida law, but I don't know if Ms. Boyer has any other thoughts on that issue.
I'm sorry, through the chair. I'm not asking about DIA. I'm asking about the city. To help us put this in context so that we can see, is this an exception? Is it a normal thing, as I think you've inferred? It hasn't been my experience, so I'm just trying to understand.
Through the chair to the council member, I'd be happy to research the issue and try to get an answer to you.
Through the chair, I'm okay with the quorum part. I got a big question mark on that part of it, saying they don't have to attend the meetings to vote. Then it's kind of like the other exception we just granted on being a member of the board. You can be 2 counties away, you could be next state, you could be somewhere else. And then this comes back and we say you don't have to come to the meetings. You can be virtual. You can go somewhere else. I've heard that before in other situations in other parts of our city organizations. And so, again, I just want to make sure I understand in context what this exception is doing.
Yeah, given it comes right on the heels of appointing Miss Bailey, who lives a couple counties away, and we were very concerned about that. She's a great asset to DIA, but now she wouldn't have to be here ever. By this. That's how I read it. Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great questions, Councilman Miller. That's kind of where I was going as well. And I wanted to know, Mr. Reingold, I think it's more of a legal question, which I could ask Ms. Boyer, but it's about state law. And it may come up for here, I'm not sure, but doesn't state law have some specificity on publicly appointed boards and commissions and a necessity to have members present if it is a appointed and confirmed board by the council? Through the chair to whomever.
Yeah, through the chair to council member. So the general principle in Florida law is that you need to have a quorum present in person in order for action to be taken. Then at that point, once you have a quorum present, then depending on the circumstances, which is to be determined by the board members who are present, then they can allow another member to participate and even vote through other means so long as you have the physical quorum present. That is the general rule in the state of Florida.
Hey, I'm a little confused. Please forgive me. General rule versus the law. You're saying general rule. Does the law say, because I understood that the law was that you had to be in the room in order to vote?
No, the general...
That's the law?
The general rule in Florida.
General rule meaning the law, yes.
So individual boards may have more restrictive requirements on themselves, such, for instance, as this one.
Excuse me, just a moment.
Sure.
Through the chair, I want to make sure that I understand you properly. When you say general rule, to me, I'm thinking of, like I was over at the Planning Commission, they set the rules for how they operate the meeting. However, they are, the way that the commission itself is operated is an ordinance, which is a law that is set by the council. I'm confused now because you're saying general rule, and so I'm trying to understand the difference. So please, maybe it's just me and I don't understand, but could you help me?
Through the chair. So individual boards and entities may have more restrictive requirements for themselves. So for instance, a particular board may have the requirement that all members be present in order to vote. But the general rule and allowance in the state of Florida is that absent such restrictions, the boards can, as long as they have a physical quorum present, allow for, under certain circumstances, for other members of their boards to participate through other means so long as they meet those requirements.
Theoretically, then, through the chair, and I don't mean to prolong this, theoretically, this council could then vote to be able to have meetings with people that just pop in. Let's say Councilman Freeman needs to go play baseball again, and he goes and he wants to still be on the council, then theoretically that could happen. Is that correct?
Through the
chair. If this council decides that.
Through the chair to the council member, Again, the general rule in Florida, as long as you have a physical quorum present and you don't have any other restrictions on yourselves, then yes, as long as there is a legitimate purpose for participating through other means, then yes, they can be generally permitted.
I appreciate your interpretation of that, Mr. Chair. I need some more detail on it. That is not my understanding of how the law works in the state of Florida, so I think we may need to look a little deeper into that, but that's not my understanding. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
I got 3 speakers in the queue, Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Freeman, followed by Mr. Gay.
Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Ms. Boyer, if I might. And Dylan, you might want to stay up there as well. Might this, go ahead, that's no problem. All right. Okay. Might this be perhaps important due to the deadlines that the DIA has on so many projects? Would that be a part of it? So you can have more participation with, because we got projects out there, and sometimes y'all are dealing in contracts and deadlines and so forth. Would that be a part of any of this?
Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci. Yes, it's a part of it. The part is that the quorum requirement change was really essential because so many times we don't have a fully appointed board. Right now we're short 1 council appointee, but sometimes this year we've been down to 6 board members. And when that happens, it's very challenging. We had our bylaws allow someone to vote when they're not present if they are out on a medical leave. And we had someone who had major surgery who was not present. So of the 6, I could not get a physical quorum at that point. So that's what this is intended to address. When Mr. Arias introduced this on our behalf, the line 29, where the language is stricken that says present and, that's really the comment that you're talking about. And if it was seriously problematic and you want to put that back in and we require them to be present, I'll live with that. But the way our bylaws work would be that you would have to have the full quorum present in the meeting, and those people would be voting. But if someone were out on this, on a medical emergency or something else, they could vote remotely if there was a physical quorum. That was as it relates to us. But to your broader question, I mean, we would rather have the quorum change if the remote voting is a challenge for y'all.
Okay, thank you. Just an observation, and generally I might not support this, but I will explain why I do support it. I do believe the DIA has a lot of deadlines right now. I was driving through downtown today. Well, first of all, I drove over the bridge, and then of course I got stuck because a boat was coming under. But I took the time to count. I think I counted almost 6 cranes, 5 or 6 cranes downtown, all doing projects for the city. We hadn't seen that in a long time. And we have a lot of renderings. We're no longer really a city of renderings. We're a city of realities. And these realities that the DIA works hard on sometimes have those deadlines. And I don't want to see their work held up if somebody can participate that can add to the discussion remotely. So I'm going to support it for that reason, because downtown's rolling, and I don't see anything impede that. And if this will help that, I'm all for it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Over to Mr. Freeman, followed by Mr. Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my questions might have been answered, but I was through the chair to Ms. Boyer. You mentioned the part with the illness, but how many other occurrences have we had where your board was unable to take action because of a lack of a quorum? And maybe not exact number. Have there been other times other than this?
Through the chair to Councilmember Freeman, There have been multiple times when we've had to reschedule meetings. So we had our January meeting, I think, ended up being on the 31st of the month because we couldn't get a quorum. We had the snow event, and so we couldn't have it on the day we were supposed to, and then we couldn't get a meeting, And so what it happens is we will keep trying until I can get a quorum to be able to schedule a meeting because, to Councilman Carlucci's point, I do have matters that are time sensitive that are scheduled on the agenda every month. And so it's problematic if I can't have a meeting each month. So that's really the issue is it's not that we haven't, it's probably been 2 years since we've actually not had a meeting, but we have often not been able to keep the meeting on the date on which it was originally scheduled because someone, for some reason, is out of town or can't attend. And so that's the basis for the quorum change.
Understood. So I think you said 2 years. And you mentioned as well through the chair to Ms. Boyer about your bylaws. If you all were to make changes to your bylaws, is that something that you still would need to come through the council for?
Through the chair to Councilmember Freeman, no.
So through the chair to Ms. Boyer, have you all considered that being an initial step prior to our debate? Because this may take some time to get through the process based on some of the questions I'm hearing. Have you all considered that? And if so, what would be the timeline of amending your bylaws and the process? I would imagine you need a quorum to do that as well, but what would be a timeline on something like that? And would that be something that your board would be interested in doing?
Through the chair, if there were a requirement that we came to the council if we were amending the bylaws that had anything to do with quorum requirements or voting, I certainly don't have a problem. I'm not sure you want to see every bylaw amendment on every topic as a matter of council business, but certainly something like this, if you wanted to see that, I don't think there's any problem with that. From a timeline standpoint, it takes a full 3-4 weeks for something to get through our board, and then it would go to MBRC, and then it would come to council. So, it would be several months to make that happen.
Okay, and that wasn't a request of mine. I'm just trying to gain some information. I know when I meet with appointees, the first question I always ask them is, well, why is the first one, and the second one is, are you aware of the time and the commitment? Is this something that maybe we as a rules committee need to do more when it comes to DIA, is to ensure, and I get the illness part. I mean, I've lived that, so I understand that. But outside of that, it seems like that's the one-off that, from my understanding, is justifying doing an overhaul like this. But is that something that maybe we need to revisit, interviewing the current members and seeing if there's a challenge with their schedules and their time and commitment to attending meetings?
Through the chair to Councilmember Freeman, we're mixing issues here. And this bill, the impetus for this bill was the quorum requirement, the in-person requirement. And no, we don't have a problem with the number of people who are appointed attending. What I have a problem with is people not getting appointed in a timely manner. So the current vacancy that I have that's a council appointee has been open now for 3 or 4 months. And I've had a number of people apply, but there's been no appointment come forward.
Can I ask one question on that? So I know on DIA, we had a scenario where we shifted seats of people, and it shifted from one seat to the next. Is this the seat you're referring to one of the ones that was shifted? Through the chair to Ms. Boyer? It might have been Centrone or one of the names, because I was asking, why are we shifting one member from one seat to the next? Is that not the vacancy?
Not that I'm aware of. The vacancy that you have is for an urban planner or architect, which Ms. Worsham resigned in either, Ms. Hampsey will remember, I think it was December. And we have had a couple architects who have applied. So, I mean, generally speaking, the challenge I've had is I've had one person move out of town, I've had this, and it's not that the board members we have are not attending. They are, when they can. And that's, other than the illness issue, that's about the only one I've had. The real challenge is when I have 2 or 3 vacancies at the same time, which I had this year.
Okay. Over to Mr. Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the question I have is either Mr. Reichardt or Ms. Boyer can answer through the chair. This is 2 separate issues or the same, being in person and the quorum?
Through the chair to Councilmember Gay, two separate issues, two separate sentences in that one small paragraph. So the underlined language, the new language, has to do with the quorum. There are two words stricken in the line before, which says present and. That has to do with the remote voting or something. If you wanted to put, that's where I was saying, if you want to put that back in and say they have to be present, I'm perfectly fine with that, because the motivation for this was the inserted language that's underlined.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I guess that's where I have my reservations at, is we can be flexible and fix the quorum, but I've got concerns going into the not present, and there's a lot of questions, I guess, that's been raised that's not fully been answered that I'm not comfortable with. So that's would be my reservations in just voting for this as it is without some kind of a change on it. Thank you, sir.
Over to Mr. Boylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do appreciate the conversation, and I think we can land the plane here if we offer an amendment to the bill to put back in the words present and.
We have a motion and a second to put back the words present and, which effectively, if I'm correct, Mr. Reingold and Ms. Boyer, eliminates the whole line strike requirement that members must attend a meeting in person in order to vote. So that this basically leaves it where it is, requiring them to be in person. Yeah.
That is correct. If I may, through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, I want to just read this provision out of the Florida Sunshine Law Manual, which is put out by the First Amendment Law and the Attorney General's Office.
Wait, is this related to, this is related to this issue? Yeah, read it.
Yeah, thank you very much. However, if a quorum of a local board is physically present, the participation of an absent member by telephone conference or other interactive electronic technology is permissible when such absence is due to extraordinary circumstances such as an illness. Whether the absence of a member due to a scheduling conflict constitutes such a circumstance is a determination that must be made in the good judgment of the board. So what they're saying is the general rule in Florida was that as long as you got the physical quorum present, then you can participate by other means. I just wanted to clarify that issue because it was asked, but I think what you heard from Ms. Boyer was that whole issue will be resolved subject to the amendment that was proposed, which basically strikes that issue from the bill, but addresses the other quorum issues.
Yeah, the Boylan amendment still is applicable here because what you're quoting is only in extraordinary circumstances. Yeah, so the Boylan amendment is still applicable here.
Absolutely. Yep. I just wanted to respond to the legal research that was asked.
Okay, we do have Mr. Carlucci and Dr. Johnson. Are you speaking on the amendment? Okay, Mr. Carlucci first, Carlucci, then Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Ms. Boyer, and to perhaps legal or Councilmember Boylan. I'm not sure is this something that the DIA could accept? Would this still give an allowance for folks to vote remotely, or does it take that option and opportunity away?
To Ms. Boyer.
Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci, I believe if you strike the language, or if you put back in the language that was there, what it says is that we have to have a majority of the members present and voting is what controls as an action of the agency. It's I don't want to get convoluted in how you would count the votes in different scenarios here, because what actually happened is saying that a non-present member could vote was better in that you got more board members voting, and you couldn't carry a majority with only 2 or 3 votes. But that's okay. We're fine with taking that out, requiring it's only the people that are present that are voting, as long as my quorum requirement is lowered from 6, because the mandatory 6 is a problem when you only have 6 people.
Does that quorum need to be changed by amendment? Sounds like it might be.
I can answer that question. Actually, it does. It provides her the opportunity and the flexibility to operate with the body that's in place.
But does it reduce, through the chair, does it reduce the quorum so that...
Yes, it does.
Okay.
That stays in. That's amendment number 2 on here.
That's good. And I want to add one other thing, that after I got over the bridge waiting on the bridge to come down and counting all the cranes. Then I got behind a concrete truck on Bay Street. And normally I would have been kind of like, oh man, why do I get behind? I just got off the bridge. I put a little smile on my face. I said, thank God there's a concrete truck coming downtown. And so I just add that for a little levity and also a little reality. Thank you.
All right, and seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's take a vote on the Boylan Amendment. We'll do it verbally. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. Oh, you were off the speaker. Did you want to speak before? Yeah. And then you can speak. All right, and now so the amendment passes. We now have a motion on the bill as amended and a second. Dr. Johnson, do you want to speak on the bill as amended, or are you good? Let's vote. All right, seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your vote, 2025-0220 passes as amended. We move next to item number 8. Thank you, Ms. Boyer. 2025-0222. We have a motion and a second. Let me just make a couple comments on this one. I am the council liaison to the Police and Fire Pension Fund. This is a simple cleanup provision, and Mr. Reingold is here to answer any questions. But basically, whenever there's a reorg, and there was in JSO, a couple of things have to happen by code, section 121.104. We need to get an actual or request an actuarial analysis from the Florida State Division of Retirement on the reorg and notify the PF Board of Trustees for comments. Neither were done. This legislation, both have been done since, and this legislation just kind of confirms that they were done. Did I explain it right, Mr. Reingold?
To the chair, you did a fabulous job.
All right. And I see no speakers in the queue or no questions for Mr. Reingold, so let's open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0222 passes. We move next to item number 9, 2024-0224. We have a motion and a second on the bill, and I think I'm going to see someone pop up on my speaker queue here, or no? This is the one that's the rate review. Do you want to talk on it? No? You don't need to. There's no other speakers in the queue.
Okay.
All right. Well, then let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
All right. By your vote, 2024-0224 passes. We move next to item number 10, 2025-0226. We have a motion and a second on the bill. And we have one speaker, Dr. Johnson.
Just quickly, I understand this morning I had other meetings, but it was in neighborhoods. You'll see several of these come through. These are the strategic funds that we had already voted on from the council. Unfortunately, the initial group that was doing it was on the council's non-compliant list, on the auditor's non-compliant list. So there'll be a series of these come through that go, but these are from the strategic funds that we've already voted on last budget year. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0226 passes. We've taken up items number 11, 12, 13, and 14. The following items are on second read. Number 15, which is 0250, number 16, 0251, number 17, 0253, number 18, 0257, number 19, 0259, which brings us to number 20, 2025-0260. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0260 passes. The remaining two items are on second read, 0262 and 0263, which brings us to the boards and commissions discussion. And let me turn it over to Ms. Hampsey and Mr. Dennis to guide us in this discussion. Ms. Hampsey, in particular, I think we need to address three things. The whole council has been given the opportunity to suggest to you boards and commissions that are under the purvey of this review for you to bring more information about. I submitted 7, and I think there might have been 1 or 2 others. So let's go over those first, and then if there's any others on that anyone on the committee or visiting wants to discuss, we go over them next. And then finally, I know Ms. LaPere is going to want to talk about it. Coming up, what came up in the last council meeting was something about residency requirements across all bills. I think Councilman Freeman and Councilman Miller both brought that up. So those three topics, the one submitted, any others, and then residency requirements, if you don't mind.
Okay with you if I stay right here?
Sorry?
It's okay if I stay up here?
Yes, please, please,
Okay.
yeah.
So through the chair to the body, a couple that were recommended or suggested to be looked into further were the Health and Life Insurance Procurement Committee and the Special Committee on Group Health Benefits, both of which are staffed by the Employee Services Division.
Yep.
So Ms. Hayes is here to speak to that, if anybody wanted to know a little bit more about their role. My understanding is that they're relevant in the RFP process, but I'll defer.
Yeah, Ms. Hayes, thank you. And if you don't mind, I will ask her a quick question. I flagged those two just because I wondered if they weren't redundant. And if they are, great, we'll eliminate one. If they're not, please explain why, and we'll keep them as is. But one is the Health and Life Insurance Procurement Committee, and the other was the Special Committee on Group Health Benefits.
Mary DePerna, Employee Services. The Special Committee on Group Health is made up of a representative from each of the collective bargaining groups, the union groups, and the Health and Life Insurance Procurement Committee is made up of executives, the CAO, CFO, risk manager, so they have different composition, both of those.
In your opinion, they're still both required?
Yes, they are.
The administration want to keep them? Because they're more administrative than council-driven. So to Mr. Dennis, you still want those two committees? Understanding the goal here is if there's anything unnecessary, redundant, or we eliminate them. If there's anything that we see I guess this is an ongoing council problem. If we see a hole we need to fill with the special board or commission, we fill it. But these two, which I just flagged because they sounded redundant, now it appears that they're not. The Health and Life Insurance Procurement Committee and the Special Committee on Group Health Benefits.
Through the chair, we'll definitely have to just defer to the departments. Because they're intimately involved, and so they know what roles or what role they play in the grand scheme of things. So we'll definitely have to defer to the department on that.
And the department's advocating maintain. Any problems with that? I don't see any. Those were just queries, flags I was looking through, and I thought they might be redundant, and now we've learned they're not. So, all right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on. Colleen, next one.
The next one was mentioned by both the chair and a council member who's not on this committee, and that's the Tower Review Committee, which is staffed by the Planning Department. It was suggested that perhaps this could be absorbed into just a responsibility of the LUZ. So I will let Mr. Corrigan speak to that.
Hey, Connor Corrigan, current Planning Division of the Planning Department. Yes, the Tower Review Committee is pretty much a rarely used committee, actually. Since it was established in 2001, they have met 50 times in total since then, with 27 of those being between 2006 and 2010. And I assume that's when most of the towers went up to improve 3G and get into the LTE stuff. Currently, it's staffed by 3 members of the Land Use and Zoning Committee and 2 members of the Planning Commission. And then we have to organize and get them all on the same page of what day. So like last year, there was only 1 meeting. I think it took about 3 months to get the date in on it. Okay. And there was only 4 items on that schedule.
So it sounds like you would be happy, or the planning department would be happy if we eliminated this Tower Review Committee.
It's still necessary because there's 3 specific things in code in Part 15, 1509, that references that any waivers of minimum setbacks for a tower, landscaping, and then variance in height goes to the Tower Review Committee. So in order for that to change, it would have to be, Aaron, you correct me, it'd have to be changed in the code in 1509, but we would be open to moving it to Planning Commission or Land Use and Zoning, either one.
Right now, if there's a waiver related to a tower, it would go through this Tower Review Committee for approval, and then it would go to the PC or LUZ anyways, right? And LUZ anyways.
The waiver would go through the committee. That's the final action on the waivers. Then the tower, depending on what kind of tower it is, would either go to Planning Commission or LUZ, yes.
Okay. And are we allowed to ask who brought this up besides me? I flagged it because I hadn't seen any action at Tower Review Committee. There's no reason you can't say, right, who submitted it?
I think I'm allowed to say.
Yeah.
Joe Carlucci
Who's on LUZ. So that's
and the Tower.
He's the chair.
And the Tower Review Committee. He's on both.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I think we can flag one for potential, figure out how to unwind it as so rarely used and duplicative with roles and responsibilities of Planning Commission and LUZ.
Perfect.
Gosh, I have two speakers before I move on. Mr. Boylan, then Dr. Johnson.
I'm sorry, your name again, sir?
Connor Corrigan.
Mr. Corrigan, I just wanted to, I recall a couple years ago, we passed an ordinance which I introduced with respect to the annual ownership report and signage. Does the review committee, is that still in place? And this does not have, the absence of a review committee would not mean this wouldn't take place anymore.
You said ownership and signage?
Yeah, it's my understanding, the ordinance dictates the fact that every year the owners of the towers have to be reaffirmed. They should be getting some kind of report letting you guys know who owns the tower today. And then to making sure there's adequate notification information on the fence or the gate of the tower, so if neighbor sees an issue, has an issue, there's a contact point for it.
I'm not sure on that. Just I took over the wireless stuff about 4 months ago when Bruce left, and I can check in with him and see if that's
I
still
would
a thing.
definitely follow up. I don't think it has any reference to the review committee per se, but I just wanted to make certain that we are still having the habit or practice and policy of making sure there's an annual notification of ownership as well as the signage on the sites.
We can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Over to Dr. Johnson, and then we have Ms. LaPere. After Dr. Johnson, do you have a comment, or would you like to say it right now?
Through the chair, I was just going to respond to Councilmember Boylan's question, if that's acceptable.
Yep.
Within the code, Councilmember Boylan, there is an annual registration requirement that on and before June 1 of each calendar year, the owner of those wireless towers have to file with the coordinator a declaration and a report. So that's still a requirement.
If I may, to follow up with Ms. LaPera, with respect to the signage information, I know that we passed an ordinance that spoke to that as well. Is that part of in there as well?
Through the chair, it is. It's in that same section of 656-15-16.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, over to Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to ask quickly, as it relates to land use and zoning, and I was a little confused, and Connor, maybe you can answer it. Doesn't the final say come to LUZ anyway, even after the Tower Commission, and even if it goes to the Planning Commission? If I'm not mistaken, because there's only been like one action that dealt with a tower, doesn't it come to LUZ for the final action anyway?
Through the chair to Councilman Johnson, I don't believe so, because it's the waivers get their final approval with the committee, and then those applications are done. Then there's a typical cell tower application. In this case, it's kind of treated like a normal exception outside of alcohol, which does go to LUZ.
Which goes to LUZ.
An exception for like outdoor storage in a certain district. Planning Commission would be the final vote on there. The only way it would then go to LUZ, I believe, is if it gets appealed. So Planning Commission has the final say on Track 2 towers, which are your camouflage towers you see around town. They're the final say on that. Unless it's denied, then they could appeal it to LUZ, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
So LUZ doesn't typically see the actual
I think we've
tower
only
itself.
seen, since I've been here only a couple of years, I've only seen like one action tower related.
They're Track 3 towers, which are your taller, non-camouflage, silver, gray poles you see. Those come to LUZ. Gotcha. Those are different.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
All right, over to Mr. Carlucci.
Just an observation and a little historic context on this. 25 years ago, these were a really big issue. And perhaps Ms. Hampsey, not now, but I'd be curious as to when this committee was put into place. It might have been back then, maybe not, but whether it plays a significant role now, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure, but I can tell you when these were starting to go up, it was a hot topic. And I think that's why this committee was probably put together. And since then, we got a lot of towers up. So, and then they make anyway, I'm not sure it's needed, but I just thought I'd let you know. Thanks.
And Mr. Corrigan, did you say that Councilman Joe Carlucci, who's on LUZ, is also the chair of the Tower Review Committee?
He is.
And he's the one who independently from me recommended that it be looked at for potential cessation. Okay. Someone was just on the queue and got off. Was that you, Dr. Johnson? Okay.
Chair, real quick, is the way we do this now, we get the report and then there's a cumulative document with everything in it, or are there actions that need to be taken as we go each one by one?
Question for, I guess, either Colleen or Carla, but I think as a group, since we're tasked with reviewing boards and commissions, we would come out and make a recommendation, and that would somehow end up in legislation. If it has to change ordinance code, I guess we're going to have different pieces of legislation probably for every board and commission that has to be sunset.
Yes, to the chair. So as a result of this review, I will draft any legislation you would like me to, but each one would have to be a separate piece. So each board or commission, whatever change is needed, would be a separate piece of legislation.
Yeah, perfect. I don't think is there a motion now that the Rules Committee has consensus that we'd like to eliminate the Tower Review Commission?
If you would like me to draft that and you want it sponsored by the committee, then yeah, if you would like to make that motion now, or if we want to discuss that
So
further.
it becomes a Rules Committee introduced, piece of legislation. Yeah, might as well. Make them.
Through the chair, so I'm hearing what I've heard, just want to make sure I'm on the same page, that each one of these we go through, we need to make an action which gives that. Is that, because that's kind of what I'm hearing, that it's not one thing, like each time we do, we can say that that's easier for you to kind of get one at a time?
Through the chair, yes, one at a time.
And the motion could be direct OGC to draft legislation to be introduced by the Rules Committee to sunset the Tower Review Committee.
Mr. Chair, I move that we draft legislation so that we can sunset the Tower Review Committee.
We have a motion from Dr. Johnson, a second from Mr. Freeman. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's take this vote verbally. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. All right. So we've eliminated something, or it came close. All right. Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Appreciate it. Ms. Hampsey, the next one that we want to look at.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councilman Carlucci, it was 2001. Okay. So the next are also under the purview of the Planning Department, the Subdivision Standards and Policy Advisory Committee and the Context Sensitive Streets Standards Committee. Again, there was a possibility that they could be merged or they were being duplicative in some way. So Ms. Bannister is here to speak.
Yeah, Ms. Bannister, please. And by the way, everyone who's here to speak on the boards and commissions, sorry that we've had a bunch of fits and starts on these. I mean, I think we were originally going to talk about these 2 weeks ago, and the meeting went long, and you guys had to, actually 4 weeks ago, and you guys had to stay that whole time. So please accept my apologies on that. But Ms. Bannister, yes, please. Are these two boards potentially duplicative of each other, or?
Good afternoon, the chair and the committee. I'm under sinus infection, so I'm kind of nasally here. So there are two committees. The Context Sensitive Street Committee is under the Planning Department.
That's perfect, yeah.
And the Subdivision Standards, that's the SSPAC, is under Public Works. However, we deal with the same documents. Back in 2013, when the ordinance came about, 2013-185, it created a Context Sensitive Street Standards Committee to deal with everything pretty much above ground, and the SSPAC was below ground. But it's the documents that we work with are very similar. The staffing is very similar, both from Public Works and Planning Department. So I'm speaking on behalf of staff, not the committee chairs, but it wouldn't hurt if both committees were merged we went through a year-long revision of the Land Development Procedure Manual recently, and the activities and the participation was very involved with both committees. And at the end results, both groups were very much involved. What we did was created subcommittees from the SSPAC in the context and made recommendations and had external agencies review them, brought it back to full committee for approval. So one committee, context, has 13 members. The SSBAC, I think, have 9. And so that's a lot of people collaborating each time. And context meets once a month. SSBAC meets every other month. So there are times I'm very much involved in context since 2016 when I was like automatically rolled into that role because the bike ped coordinator, we've gone through 5 different bike ped coordinator who's supposed to be the project manager and staffing member for the context group. And so for 5 years straight, I was very much involved. And we were without a quorum for a long time. With the 13 members, there were always 5 members, membership that was still vacant. We just recently filled those positions, so we've had quorum for the last 6 to 8 months. Very active group. However, there may be times where it's just workshopping. There's nothing to vote on, so I don't have a problem just considering merging both committees.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Ms. Bannister. This is an interesting one because this involves at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, between the two of them, 11 different members of the community that are involved in this: land development, transportation, trucking, engineering, surveying, underground utilities. So it'd be really interesting to get the community perspective before we just go ahead and kill it. That's kind of what I'm thinking, and I don't know how we do that. Maybe I attend context-sensitive streets next committee meeting, but you said there's one a month of the context-sensitive and then every other month in SSP. Sometimes there's not a lot to vote on, just a workshop.
Yes.
How long are each of those meetings generally?
So the context meeting, it's 2 hours. Sometimes the SSBA is about an hour, hour and a half.
Okay.
And on the SSBAC, staff is a voting member, and I'm one of the voting members on the SSBAC.
Oh, okay.
So on context, I'm just staffing with our bike ped coordinator.
I'm hesitant to just outright, say rules wants to eliminate because of the community involvement, but Dr. Johnson, I think you have a comment, right?
Well, I think you're on it because that was going to be my question. How long is the meeting and then how long is the agenda? Those were the 2 questions I had, but clearly the agenda is, it's mostly workshop stuff from what I am understanding. And I think it would be advisable to consolidate the committees, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, but I think waiting until the committee meeting, maybe because of what you said, and then are the members all going to be there, what have you. I think it may be best, possibly, I know I do this a lot, is, find a way to either do it virtually or communicate electronically with those members and get feedback. What do you think about it? Are these coming in? Because it seems like the idea that I kind of scrolled around is a connected communities standards committee, but something that brings it all together, right? Mm-hmm. And pulls those things together. I like kind of consolidating so that we can get more done. So connected communities, I think, kind of sounds something that pulls it all together. But electronically would be my vote for you, Mr. Chair.
So maybe the motion could be for Rules Committee to further explore the combining these two, but taking no action now.
So moved.
Yeah.
So moved.
All right. So the Rules Committee to explore. Anyone have any more discussions on that one, Mr. Boylan?
If I might make a suggestion, it might be helpful for you when we have those meetings with those 2 groups, is to come down with a laundry list or a matrix of where they cross and or where they align, and so they understand. If you're on context in the Safe Streets Committee, you now will have a voice on these other issues as well. You're comfortable with that. So I think just you want to make sure that each committee knows what the role of the other committee is, as they make a decision on their part whether or not they want to support the consolidation of these 2 committees. A little bit of legwork for you, but I think it might be worthwhile.
Through the chair, it would help because staff is very, very much involved in context, and so it can become very tedious, especially for our turnaround times.
Right.
So it would be highly suggested we can look and see how it would work.
If you're on one, you don't know the work of the other. You might want to have a better understanding what the work of the other is, so you feel comfortable being part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to see that it seems like the staff is certainly up to exploring combining the two. And that may be a way to save staff time and efficiency.
Yes, sir.
Government efficiency. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Hamsey, we have 2 more, right, in the original group? Or
The next one I have is the Industrial Development Revenue Bond Review Committee.
Yeah.
Which I I don't see anybody here for that right now. And I feel like you said that you were going to speak to Mr. Randolph, and I did see him out there earlier.
Yeah, he
I don't
probably
see him
couldn't
now.
stay. This is an interesting one. I asked the auditors about it, and they hadn't heard of it. I don't think this one has been convening in a while. The membership is all local and all administration. So we could potentially ask the administration on their opinion and to come back to rules in the next meeting to determine if they think they need this board. I don't think we've issued industrial development revenue bonds in a long time. My guess is that was when we needed to build a government-owned, locally owned industrial park or something like that, and I don't think we're in that position as a city anymore. I don't know if that's how it is, but maybe Rules Committee, can we direct administration to come back to us with an opinion on this one?
Through the chair, we'll have someone at the next committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then maybe out of that, we do another motion. If administration says kill it, we'll do a motion to kill, direct ODC to start up the Rules Committee action. Okay, very good. Any others, Ms. Hampsey?
Lastly, I have the Security and Emergency Preparedness Planning Council, which, upon discussion with you, I think is just what's used in times of emergency, and we maybe just didn't realize that that's what it was called. But it's a huge group, and it's.
Yeah, I asked this one information only. I didn't think we'd want to kill a Security and Emergency Preparedness Planning Council, but I also wondered if it's ever convened or if this is what is formally convened whenever we meet for a state of emergency. And I don't know if administration has anything on that one. I mean, we've got a couple one former council president here. Do you remember them when we had emergencies, Mr. Freeman, convening the Security and Emergency Preparedness Council? I don't think so, and I certainly don't even see City Council as listed on here. Actually, City Council President, sorry, it's on there. But these are all the people you normally see at the EOC. Yeah.
There's a couple of things I can speak to this one on. I Noah Ray, I believe, pretty much headed it up. Part of the work of this committee, if I'm not mistaken, is to secure federal, to make sure they hit whatever buttons are, they need levers they need to push in order to demonstrate federal funding on emergency projects, if my memory serves me correctly. And so it does involve, as my memory serves me, JEA, JTA, all the folks, meeting apart even from an emergency situation, just to say where are we in terms of meeting the criteria to be able to secure federal funding for the work that we do. We might want to do more homework on that. And if I could add to that conversation, there was, as you know, I headed up the long-term recovery organization following Hurricane Irma. And through that process, we created a COAD, Community Organizations Active in Disaster. And that's an entity that looks to bring together the public, private, and NGOs, a community together to focus on disasters as they appear. So if we are going to visit this one, I think it'd be an opportunity to have some conversations as to how we can pull those together. If you'd like, Mr. Chair, I'll take this one off of your hands and maybe do a little legwork and come back to you all with some thoughts on it for the next time.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you. It's because it's interesting to me. I mean, there's 20 members here and then potentially 11 more, including the mayors of all the Jacksonville Beach, Atlantic Beach, Neptune, and Baldwin, and the commander of the Naval Base Jacksonville.
Yeah, I attended a couple of those meetings when I was a member of the RTO, and so I understood it's a big group and they come together, as my memory is now gathering. I do recall their intent was really making sure that we were meeting all the requirements to secure federal funding.
Yeah, thank you. If that's the purvey of this council, that's great. I just kind of wondered, man, is this what they're actually using whenever there's a hurricane and they're convening? Because it looks like the same cast of characters. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Ms. Hampsey, do we have anything else on there?
That's all I had.
All right. Well, it looks like we have a couple actions. Those noted. One is to start the process to kill the Tower Review Committee, to do further exploration on combining context-sensitive streets and SSP, and then we asked the administration to get back to us on the Industrial Development Revenue Bond Review Committee for potential sunset, and then Mr. Boylan's going to review the Security and Emergency Preparedness Planning Council Committee. Yes, sir.
If you're paying any attention to what's happening in Tallahassee, I'm sure many of my colleagues don't spend any time doing that. The whole CRA thing is becoming to the forefront. The possibility, I think the state is looking to sunset CRAs, and I don't know, in the context of this, obviously we might need to take a look at that as well as part of this process. Thank you.
Yeah, noted. Mr. Miller, followed by Mr. Freeman. And now we're at the portion, we said 3 parts of this meeting. First was look at the original 7. Next is any others you want to talk about. And then third, we'll bring up, I think Carla has a couple comments that she might want to address related to the residency requirements. Mr. Miller, followed by Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, just wanted to ask about the 2 Better Jacksonville Plan committees, the number 3 and 4 on the spreadsheet. Given the length of time since those were established, I don't know what is still going on, and it would be good to know the details of those 2.
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, I was curious about that as well because there's vacancies on both of those entities. I did ask Mr. Dennis. He indicated that they're both active. I don't know how frequently they meet, but I'm going to defer to you.
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, they are active. There are still funds out there under the Better Jacksonville Plan. I know that there are some funds that were shifted to JTA that they are fulfilling some of those, but we can have the chair or staff to come at the next meeting to discuss those for you.
Yeah, in particular, if you wouldn't mind, the difference between the 2, which I think they could address pretty quickly. I've asked that question long time ago in the past. But I do think they were probably rapidly approaching the time to sunset. Now we've given them more life now that we've ended up taking more projects out of the CIP and put them in the BJP as part of the stadium deal. We got Mr. Freeman, followed by Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson, then Mr.
This is just quick. I just wanted Mr. Chair to be understood that there's still some BJP projects Old Middleburg Road that are not done.
Of course.
Right, you know what I mean? So it's not like we're just sticking stuff over there. It's the fact that we have stuff that's been 25 years, and we're having to fight every day to make sure the stuff gets done.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, I shouldn't have said rapidly approaching sunset. I think there's still a couple years left on those. Over to Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that CRA conversation probably will be a very robust one. Yes. If you're following Tallahassee, and Tallahassee actually followed us here today because a lot of those students that came and spoke so eloquently were speaking about a major issue that's happening over there. And there are a lot of details that were absent from the presentation today. So I do hope that you all do your homework and then land in a place that helps kids and helps our educational place. But my question is a little different. Through the chair to our to OGC on the JSEB monitoring committee. One, shout out to Mr. Grant. He and I, we communicate often. He's doing good work. But in the past, there have been some members. One, they meet quarterly. And I know we talk about the difficulty of finding members. One of the issues or concerns that was brought to me by people, one of them was the fact that we only meet 4 times a year. It's almost as if we don't have teeth. We don't have power. We really are just kind of signing off on some things per se. And so the question was is there a possibility or is there a process of strengthening it from monitoring and adding more teeth to it to where it is actually a full-fledged committee that meets more than quarterly, meets monthly, and then takes on some responsibilities in the oversight?
This is JSEB Monitoring Committee.
Through the chair to Councilmember Freeman, that's a change we could make to the ordinance code, absolutely, to increase the frequency of meetings. If you want to change duties, powers, things like that, we could do that through an amendment to the ordinance code.
Okay, perfect. And I know in the most recent legislation with JSEB, we did add some things and make some changes. So that was just really the last piece that when I met with some folks and talked with them, that was brought up. So that's really all I have. Not really looking forward to jumping in this CRA conversation. So if y'all do decide to do it, let me know. And I may have meetings that day. And I actually have a 4 o'clock meeting in my office waiting right now. So.
Very good. Over to Mr. Gay, Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Gay.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, before you head out, Councilman, former Council President, I know you got to get out here for a meeting. Your recommendation, I want to be able to put that in since we're doing that JSEP special committee. We meet this week. And I'll have a question coming up for the lawyers, but your recommendation is that they meet. What is the frequency that you came back from hearing from the folk that you spoke with? Monthly? I thought so right now it's quarterly? Got it, okay. And I'll bring that up at the meeting on Thursday, so thanks. We're in public. Yeah, thanks for putting that out. Let me ask you this question, especially when it comes to some of the changes that we make. I try to stay away from, I almost look at the code as ordinance code changes as kind of holy grail, so to speak. And don't want to change them so much. Could this be changed with the rule of the committee itself or board itself, or does it need to be codified through the ordinance?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. So the ordinance code says specifically on this JSEP monitoring committee that the committee shall meet quarterly. So if we want to change that, it would need to be done through an amendment to that section of our ordinance code.
Would it, in the future, as we do these things, would it be better for us to have it where the committee can have some things as a rule versus a law? Hate to go back to that conversation again, but.
Through the chair to Dr. Johnson, there may be some wiggle room in the way we phrase things that could allow some stability in meeting frequency. I know, for example, some advisory boards they shall meet monthly, but they can take 2 months off in the summer, a minimum of 10 meetings a year or something. That gives them the flexibility if they don't have anything, no purpose or nothing on the agenda, they aren't forced to meet the code requirements.
And
so
that's what I was thinking. Like it could be better, Mr. Chair, as we look at some of these where it becomes a rule of the committee or board itself as opposed to a law. That way there is some flexibility and they don't have to come through this process all the time. And I don't know, again, I don't want to do something that ends up biting us in the butt and, move further down the line, but I think we may want to look at that with a critical eye. Thank you.
And over to Mr. Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the idea of getting JSEP more teeth and more ability to have input. I'd like to get Director Grant involved in this as well because he's got some ideas that working with procurement, I see that we will have to have this board meeting more regularly, monthly, to be able to make sure it aligns with what procurement's needing to get contracts ordered. And so I think it's a great idea to motivate this and move it forward and get the input with Director Grant. Thank you.
Okay. And seeing no other speakers in the queue, anyone else have any new issues they want to bring up on these ones? Mr. Miller. Oh, another board or commission, or just new issues entirely? Okay, before we do that, all right, so I've identified 6 action items now. I'll go over them at the end. But before we do, Ms. LaPera, you wanted to talk briefly about residency requirements because it came up in discussion in council meeting on Tuesday from Mr. Freeman and Mr. Miller, in case it affects how we think about boards and commissions moving forward.
Sure. So through the chair to the committee, I handed out at your seat this Excel spreadsheet. Each of you have it. Hopefully you brought your reading glasses. It's like 0.2 font. Colleen Hampsey created this, but I just formatted it and wanted you all to have it because there was some discussion generated about the residency requirement for different boards. And Councilmember Freeman had introduced that legislation to make a change in the DIA. But just as a reminder, if there's no specific residency requirement within a particular board or commission, then it falls back on the Chapter 50 language, which is that each member must either be a resident of Duval County or have substantial economic, business, or philanthropic interests within the county, as determined by you all. You all can vote on whether you think it's substantial or not. So Colleen created this list, and it has each board or commission and whether it is a Chapter 50 residency requirement, meaning one or the other, residency or substantial interest, or some of them are kind of unique beasts. Some of them have designees, so it's made up of only like city staff, OED, CFO, those, city personnel. And then some of them just have their own unique language, like registered voters in Duval County or something to that effect. So as you look through that, if there are any in particular you want to take a deeper dive in, we're happy to, but I wanted you to have that information.
I'm going to ask a dumb question here, Carla. If there's a unique thing, like I look at the Jacksonville Historic Preservation Commission, did I read that one right? Yeah. It says a resident of the city of Jacksonville during his entire term. Well, first of all, it's his, but not his or her, but a resident during the entire term. That's a unique one. Is that just because when we created it and created the ordinance to develop that board or commission, that was the language that the introducer wanted and that the council approved?
To the chair, I believe that's correct, yes. The Historic Preservation Commission also has a couple other interesting things. It's its own local planning agency, so they do have some aspirational appointments in that they are to the extent possible to have a number of specific professions like architect, archaeologist. There's some named professions that they aspire to have. So that's another unique one. Oh, in historic preservation, Ms. Hampsey just reminded me, that one you also have to live within the city limits. You can't live at, your residency can't be at the beaches.
Okay. That's interesting. There's nothing historic there? Like it wasn't the beach that Europe first landed on, or Europeans first landed on? No.
The beaches have their own planning.
Okay.
Agents. We actually did have a commissioner who moved to the beach and then he could no longer be a commissioner on historic preservation for that exact reason.
Okay. And then there's just interesting ones. PFPF, Financial and Investment Advisory Committee, must be residents of Duval, Nassau, St. John's, Baker, or Clay. That's because there's probably a lot of police or firefighters who don't live within Duval and might live outside of. Okay. Anyone else have any questions on these residency requirements? I think at the very least, this spreadsheet is very important so we can see just how they differ and whether. Almost see how they differ. And for clarification, 2025-236 that we approved last Tuesday basically just reverts the DIA to Chapter 50?
That's correct. So now Chapter 50 provisions will apply. So each DIA board member will have to either be a resident of Duval County or of substantial philanthropic or economic business interests within Duval County.
Okay. Understood. All right. Any further questions on the residency, Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair, I was one of the ones that brought this up because once we start doing one-offs, then it begs the question, what are we doing elsewhere, and is that what we really want as representatives of our districts and of the city as a whole? And I just, when you start granting exceptions, my concern is, do some of these boards or committees get to the point where people don't live here anymore? And even if they have a substantial financial or business interest, do they really have that total vested interest in how their decisions affect our city? And I don't think so. If you're only here, I'm sorry to go to the example we went over, 2 days a week from 9 to 5, and you're not here in the evenings, and you're not here on the weekends, and neither is your family, I'm just not so sure you're 100% in for the impact of the decisions you make with taxpayer dollars. And so that's where I was coming from, and I just think maybe it's on us because there's so much of a difference from board or committee from one to the other. I just think it's on us to keep an eye on that, do these reviews, and I don't think any of us would want one of these to just have a substantial financial interest, but no one living in Duval County. In fact, I was just toying with the idea of introducing legislation that there could only be one outside who resides outside the county, because it just concerns me that we could get to the point where boards, committees, commissions have people that live 2, 3, 4 or more counties away. So that's, I think, again, I don't know that I see an obvious need looking at this for legislation unless someone else sees it differently, but I think it's incumbent on us to keep an eye on this so that we make sure those who represent us in this way really do have a more well-rounded idea of and understand the impacts, because they're going to feel it as well, what the impacts are of their decisions, as I said, especially when it comes to using taxpayer dollars. So thank you for the people who did this work and ran all this down, and thank you for the administration for getting back with us with the additional information so we can take a look at things that sometimes I've heard people say, nobody's looked at this for 15, 20 years. We should never have anything that hasn't been looked at for 15 or 20 years. So again, thank you to everyone who played a part in getting us this information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And seeing no one else on the queue, summarize, we're going to start the process to create ordinance to kill the Tower Review Committee. We're going to explore whether to kill the Industrial Development Review Bond Committee, and I think the administration is going to come back to us in the next meeting with that. Administration is always also going to come back on BJP. Yep. Mr. Boylan's going to look at the Security and Emergency Preparedness Planning Council. We're going to explore as a committee and each probably do some outside Q&A to stakeholders, community stakeholders, whether to combine the context-sensitive streets and the SSP committee meeting. And then we're going to, I don't know if Mr. Freeman plans to introduce legislation to increase frequency of JSEB, or if that's going to be an amendment to a current bill. But I'm sure he'll do the right action there. And that's everything. So thank you, Ms. Hampsey. Thank you, Mr. Dennis and Ms. LaPera, all of you all for preparing this for us. And like Chris said, I'm glad that we got to take a fresh look at some committees which may have been overcome by events. So, Mr. Miller.
Through the chair, I just had one separate issue. I just want to make sure we made it through our agenda, but I want to thank everyone for your support on 2025-224 that removes the rate review concept and process from our waste haulers. Thousands and thousands of hours on the part of our staff, as well as the waste hauler staff, have been used over the years to do this. And I believe there was a good-hearted intention for doing this in the beginning by talking to our auditors, but I think we've moved beyond that now, and I believe if we put this in the same place that we do all of our contracts, we will be well served, and more importantly, the taxpayers will be better served. And so thank you for this support. There are, as it says in your notes, 2 current waste hauler contracts that are in place right now. They're working right now, so it won't affect those 2. That will take some other actions, but any new contract, anyone beyond those 2, will be affected by this if approved through full council. So thank you again for your support.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. That's the end of our agenda. Any final comments from committee members? Anything from staff? All right, it is 4:15 and we're adjourned.